Hey friends, welcome back to Interesting Chinese Culture. When we open the vast historical scroll of China, or walk through those ancient temples across Asia, surrounded by curling incense smoke, one very unique cultural phenomena immediately catches our eye. The Chinese system of gods is completely different from the monotheistic systems found in many other civilizations around the world. Here, there is no one and only creator who excludes all other gods, and there is no abstract deity standing high above, completely separated from human emotions. The Chinese world of gods and immortals is more like a huge, well-organized cosmic government, full of human warmth. In this system, the gods have clear duties. They have emotions similar to human beings, such as joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. Some even have detailed life stories and records of promotion. Many figures who truly existed in history were placed on the altar by ordinary people after their deaths because of their outstanding contributions or noble character, and they received worship and incense for generations. This process of turning historical figures into gods and giving natural forces human personalities deeply reflects how Chinese people, over thousands of years, have understood the order of the universe, expressed their hopes for real life, and held on to moral values. Today, in the form of a podcast, let us travel through the mist of time and enter the world of China's 10 most representative gods to explore the deep historical, dynastic, cultural, and folk backgrounds behind these beliefs. Today's interesting Chinese culture story is about the 10 most popular gods among Chinese people. The first god we are going to meet is the highest ruler in the Chinese system of gods and immortals, the supreme sovereign who governs the three realms and all directions, the Jade Emperor. If you know Journey to the West, then you are probably not unfamiliar with this god. The Jade Emperor is the highest deity of heaven and earth in Taoism. Ordinary people call him the Heavenly Lord, and they believe he manages all affairs in heaven, the human world, and the underworld. The 9th day of the first lunar month is known as the birthday of the Heavenly Lord. In southern Fujian and Taiwan, believers hold extremely grand worship ceremonies on this day. In Journey to the West, the Jade Emperor is often thrown into confusion by Sun Wukong and seems a little helpless. But in folk belief, he is the supreme ruler of the universe, fair and selfless, rewarding good and punishing evil. When people encounter natural disasters or human misfortunes, or when they pray for peace and stability for the country, they pray to him. So when did the historical and cultural background of the Jade Emperor begin? We have to go back to the intellectual origins of China's pre-Qin period. In early China, people of the Shang dynasty worshipped Di, or Shangdi, believing that he was the highest god who ruled over nature and human society. By the Zhou dynasty, this concept gradually evolved into heaven. In the worldview of ancient Chinese people, heaven was not only the physical sky, but also the final source of morality and order. The ruler of the human world was called the Son of Heaven, meaning that his right to rule came from heaven. However, the early idea of heaven was an abstract concept and did not have a concrete personal image. It was not until Taoism gradually took shape from the late Han dynasty to the Wei and Jin periods that Taoists began to give this abstract heaven a more concrete form, in order to build a heavenly empire corresponding to the empire on earth. By the Song dynasty, this movement of creating gods reached its peak. In order to cover up the military setback of the Chanyuan Treaty, Emperor Zhenzong of Song tried to strengthen his rule through religious authority. He claimed that he had dreamed of a deity who passed down heavenly writings to him, and he honored this deity as the Great Jade Heavenly Emperor, the supreme being who opened heaven, held the sacred command, governed time, contained truth, and embodied the Tao. From then on, the Jade Emperor officially became the highest god recognized by both Chinese folk society and the imperial state. The image of the Jade Emperor is completely a projection of earthly imperial power into the mythological world. In folk legends and cultural construction across different dynasties, the bureaucratic system of the heavenly court closely mirrors the imperial court on earth. The Jade Emperor sits in the Hall of Divine Heaven, with civil and military officials standing on both sides. There is the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King Li, who is responsible for military affairs, Judge Kui, who is responsible for judicial matters, and the Wind Earl and Rain Master, who are responsible for weather. This divine structure reflects the desire of ancient Chinese society for strong central authority and strict order. What people often prayed to the Jade Emperor for was good weather for the nation, peace and prosperity for the country, or major turning points in their personal fate. In the hearts of ordinary people, the Jade Emperor is the embodiment of the highest law of the universe. He controls everyone's life and death, lifespan, fortune, and misfortune. Every year, the 9th day of the first lunar month is the birthday of the Jade Emperor, known among the people as the birthday of the Heavenly Lord. On this day, both official institutions and ordinary communities would hold extremely grand ceremonies. People would prepare abundant offerings, burn incense, and bow in worship at midnight, praying for heaven's protection in the new year. Today, temples dedicated to the Jade Emperor can be found across China. Among them, one of the oldest and most popular is Baiyun Temple in Zicheng District, Beijing. Baiyun Temple is not only the ancestral temple of the Quanjin school of Taoism, its Jade Emperor Hall is also a sacred place where worshippers gather to pray during the Spring Festival every year. Here, you can see how ordinary Chinese people closely connect the grand order of the universe with their own worldly wishes. After we understand the highest ruler of the heavenly court, let us turn our eyes from the clouds to the vast ocean and meet a great woman who protects countless lives amid stormy waves. She is Mazu. Mazu can be said to be one of the most popular deities in the southern regions of Guangdong and Fujian. China is a country with a long coastline, and maritime culture has played an extremely important role in Chinese history, especially after the Song dynasty. With advances in shipbuilding technology and the use of the compass, the maritime Silk Road entered a period of prosperity. However, ancient navigation technology was still limited. Facing unpredictable ocean storms, sailors and merchants often felt how small and helpless they were. Against this historical background, the worship of sea gods naturally emerged. The prototype of Mazu was a female shaman from Meizhou Island in Puqian, Fujian, in the early Northern Song dynasty. Her name was Lin Mo. According to local records, Lin Mo was intelligent from childhood, understood medicine well, could predict changes in the weather, and often rescued fishermen during maritime disasters. At the age of 28, she unfortunately died while rescuing people at sea. The local people remembered her kindness, so they built a temple on Meizhou Island to worship her. Mazu is the most special one among these 10 deities because she is neither a Buddhist bodhisattva nor a traditional Taoist immortal, but a real fisher girl who once lived in history. Her name was Lin Mo. She was from Meizhou Island in Puqian, Fujian during the Northern Song dynasty, and she was born in 960 CE. Legend says that she had supernatural abilities from childhood. She could predict the weather and waves at sea, and she rescued fishing boats in danger many times. At the age of 28, she died during a sea rescue. Some people also say that she ascended to heaven as an immortal. To honor her memory, local fishermen built the first small temple on Meizhou Island. From then on, the worship of Mazu began to spread along the coastline. During the Song dynasty, the imperial court sent envoys overseas many times, and sea travel was extremely risky. Before setting sail, sailors would pray for Mazu's protection. Whenever the missions returned safely, the court believed that Mazu had shown her divine power, so it continued to grant her higher titles. From lady to consort, then to heavenly consort, queen of heaven, and finally holy mother in heaven. During the Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties, Mazu's status grew higher and higher, and she eventually became a national sea goddess. When Zheng He sailed to the western oceans, his fleet had to worship Mazu before departure. Large numbers of people from Fujian and Guangdong migrated overseas. They crossed the seas on wooden boats, and Mazu was the greatest spiritual support in their hearts. So today, almost every port city in the world with Chinese communities has a Mazu temple. People worship Mazu to pray for safety at sea, favorable weather, and a smooth journey. Today, the place where Mazu worship is most active is undoubtedly the Meizhou Mazu Ancestral Temple in Puqian, Fujian. It is the root of all Mazu temples around the world. Every year, on the 23rd day of the third lunar month, Mazu's birthday, Meizhou Island holds grand Mazu ceremonies and procession activities. Believers from Southeast Asia, North America, and Europe return to pay respects to the ancestral temple and offer incense. Mazu belief and customs have also been included by UNESCO on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. In this way, a fisher girl became an ocean goddess with hundreds of millions of believers. The rise of Mazu worship is closely connected to the dependence of Chinese dynasties on maritime trade and the expansion of migration from the southeastern coast. During the Yuan dynasty, because the grain supply of the capital Dadu, today's Beijing, depended heavily on sea transport from the south, Kublai Khan began to strongly honor Mazu in order to pray for safe maritime transport, granting her the title Heavenly Consort. By the Qing dynasty, after Emperor Kangxi unified Taiwan, large numbers of coastal residents from Fujian and Guangdong crossed the Taiwan Strait to settle and cultivate land. When crossing the dangerous Taiwan Strait, known as the Black Ditch, migrants regarded Mazu as their most important spiritual support. Following the footsteps of migrants, Mazu worship spread not only across China's southeastern coast, but also to Southeast Asia and even around the world with Chinese communities. What people prayed to Mazu for was safety at sea, favorable weather, and success in commercial trade.
The image of Mazu is that of a kind, brave goddess filled with maternal radiance. She protects not only fishermen, but also merchants and travelers far from home. Today, Mazu worship has become an important cultural bond connecting Chinese people around the world. The ancestral temple with the strongest Mazu worship has become an important altar connecting Chinese people around the world. Every year, on the 23rd day of the 3rd lunar month, Mazu's birthday, and on the 9th day of the 9th lunar month, the anniversary of Mazu's ascension to heaven, Meizhou Island holds grand sea ceremonies and processions. Tens of thousands of believers come from around the world to offer incense and pay worship, creating an extremely powerful scene. After exploring the Chinese understanding of the universe and the ocean, we need to look deeper into one of the most central moral values in traditional Chinese culture: loyalty and righteousness. And the figure who turned this value into a concrete image and pushed it to the highest level of worship is Guanggong, also known as Guan Yu, the famous general of Shu Han during the Three Kingdoms period. The real Guan Yu in history was a brave and skilled military commander with a proud and aloof personality. In the 24th year of the Jian era, during the Battle of Shangfan, he flooded the 7 armies and shocked all of China. But in the end, because Eastern Wu broke its alliance, he was defeated and retreated to Meicheng, where his body and head were separated. After Guan Yu's death, he was at first only worshipped here and there by ordinary people around Jingzhou. His large-scale deification truly began in the Song dynasty. At that time, the Song faced strong military pressure from northern nomadic peoples, and both the court and the people deeply longed for a spiritual force that could resist foreign enemies and remain loyal without wavering. During the reign of Emperor Huizong of Song, a Taoist master created the story of Guan Yu fighting the spirit of Shiyou at the Salt Lake in Jizhou. Emperor Huizong used this as a reason to grant him great honors, and Guan Yu began to rise from the rank of marquis to king. Merchants worship him because he is the god of wealth in a martial form. He represents honesty and loyalty, and people believe he can bless business and bring prosperity. Police officers and members of the underworld also worship him because he is Lord Guan, a divine figure who represents loyalty, courage, and brotherhood. Buddhism invited him into temples and honored him as a guardian bodhisattva, responsible for protecting Buddhist monasteries. Taoism honors him as Lord Guan and even calls him the great emperor who subdues demons. A historical figure being worshipped by both Buddhism and Taoism is extremely rare anywhere in the world. The statue you see in Chinese restaurants, shops, and ancestral halls with a red face, a long beard, and a green dragon crescent blade in his hand is Guanggong. By the Ming and Qing dynasties, Guanggong's divine status was raised even further. The wide circulation of the Ming dynasty novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms made stories such as Guan Yu riding alone for 1,000 miles and releasing Cao Cao at Huarong Road out of righteousness, deeply rooted in people's hearts. His righteousness became a moral standard that went beyond life and death. In the Qing dynasty, in order to strengthen their rule, the emperors strongly promoted Guan Yu's loyalty. Successive emperors continued to grant him higher titles, and in the end, he was honored as the great sage Emperor Guan. He stood alongside Confucius, the sage of culture, and became the sage of war. Even more interestingly, against the background of a flourishing commercial economy in the Ming and Qing dynasties, merchants discovered that Guan Yu's qualities of not being greedy for money and valuing trust and righteousness were exactly the spirit of contract that commercial society needed most. So merchant groups began to worship Guan Yu as a protector and god of wealth. From then on, Guanggong became a deity respected by Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism alike. Confucianism honors him as the sage of war. Taoism honors him as the great emperor who subdues demons. Buddhism honors him as a guardian bodhisattva. What people pray to Guanggong for is not only protection from evil, disasters and danger, or peace for the local community, but also honesty in business and abundant wealth. Today, Guanggong worship can be found across Chinese communities around the world. In China, the ancestral temple where Guanggong worship is most active is the Zhizhou Guandi Temple in Yuncheng, Shanxi Province. This temple was first built in the Sui dynasty, with a grand scale and magnificent presence. Every year during the Guanggong Cultural Festival, traditional worship ceremonies are held here.
members of the Guan clan and Chinese believers from China and overseas gather here to honor this great deity who represents the Chinese spirit of loyalty and righteousness. Next, we are going to talk about a deity who is extremely well known among foreign friends, and who deeply reflects the inclusiveness and localization ability of Chinese culture. That deity is Guanyin Bodhisattva. This deity also appears frequently in the story of Journey to the West. Almost every time Sun Wukong runs into trouble, it is this deity who helps him get through the difficulty. She may be the most well-known deity in all of China, and the one with the largest number of believers. In Buddhism, she is the embodiment of compassion. She hears the cries of suffering beings and comes to rescue them. Wherever there is suffering, she appears. In some stories, she is also known as Sihang Zhenren, and is said to be a disciple of Yuanxi Tianzun. So who is Yuanxi Tianzun? I wonder if you still remember, when we first talked about the investiture of the gods, we introduced the hierarchy of the immortal world. To put it simply, Yuanxi Tianzun is one of the greatest deities. Guanyin Bodhisattva was originally a male bodhisattva in Buddhism. In Sanskrit, the name means an enlightened being who observes the sounds of the world. In early Buddhist scriptures, Guanyin was a savior with great compassion, rescuing people from suffering and disaster. However, after Buddhism entered China during the Han Dynasty, in order to adapt to Chinese cultural psychology and aesthetic habits, the image of Guanyin changed significantly over the long course of history. By the Tang and Song dynasties, Guanyin Bodhisattva gradually changed from a male image into a female image. This transformation had a deep social and cultural background. In traditional Chinese culture, mothers and women often represent selfless love, tolerance, and comfort. For ordinary people living with hardship and suffering, a gentle and compassionate female deity could offer more emotional comfort than a majestic male deity. As for the localization of Guanyin Bodhisattva, there is a famous folk legend about Princess Miao Shan. According to the legend, in ancient times, there was a King Zhuang whose third daughter, Miao Shan, devoted herself to Buddhism and refused to marry. King Zhuang became furious and made things difficult for her in every possible way, even ordering her death. After Miao Shan died, she traveled through the underworld and, out of compassion, saved many dead souls. Later, she came back to life and became a bodhisattva. When King Zhuang fell seriously ill and needed the hand and eye of a family member as medicine, Miao Shan did not hesitate to offer her own hand and eye. After King Zhuang recovered and learned the truth, he was filled with regret. Miao Shan, because of this, became the thousand-armed and thousand-eyed Guanyin. This story perfectly combines the Buddhist spirit of compassion with the traditional Chinese culture of filial piety. The things people pray to Guanyin Bodhisattva for are extremely wide-ranging: rescue from suffering, protection from disasters, the removal of misfortune, children, safety, and peace. Almost every aspect of everyday life is included. Guanyin Bodhisattva has become one of the most approachable and most beloved deities in Chinese folk belief. In China, the sacred site of Guanyin Bodhisattva is believed to be Mount Puto in Zhoushan, Zhejiang. Mount Puto is surrounded by the sea on all sides and has beautiful scenery. It is regarded as the holy place where Guanyin Bodhisattva appears and teaches the Dharma. On the island, there are 3 major Chan Buddhist temples: Puji Temple, Fayu Temple, and Huiji Temple, as well as a 33-meter-tall outdoor bronze statue of Guanyin of the South Sea. Every day, countless believers travel across mountains and rivers to Mount Puto, praying for inner peace and a smooth life amid the sound of Buddhist chanting and ocean waves.
Let us return to the most worldly and down-to-earth level. If we are talking about the deity most worshipped by young people in recent years, then it has to be the god of wealth. Human beings have never stopped desiring and pursuing wealth, so the deity who manages wealth naturally becomes one of the most popular divine figures. In China, the god of wealth is one of the deities with the strongest incense worship, and this reflects the open pursuit and acceptance of material life in Chinese secular culture. In Chinese folk belief, there is not only one god of wealth, but a large system, including civil gods of wealth such as Bigan and Fan Li, and martial gods of wealth such as Guanggong and Zhao Gongming. Among them, the most representative and widely worshipped martial god of wealth is Zhao Gongming. This god of wealth appeared in the earliest version of the investiture of the gods. The evolution of Zhao Gongming's image very interestingly reflects the practical nature of Chinese folk belief. In the Jin dynasty, in Gan Bao's In Search of the Supernatural, which is also the story collection we will begin discussing in September, Zhao Gongming was originally one of the plague gods who commanded ghosts, spread disease, and punished evil. By the Ming dynasty, with the further development of the commercial economy, people's desire for wealth became stronger and stronger. The Ming dynasty novel, The Investiture of the Gods, decisively reshaped Zhao Gongming's image. In the investiture of the gods, Zhao Gongming is a Taoist from Mount Emi. He is highly skilled in martial arts and possesses many magical treasures, but he eventually dies in the war between Shang and Zhou. When Jiang Ziya grants divine titles, he appoints Zhao Gongming as the true lord of the Golden Dragon, the wish-fulfilling one, the orthodox unity, the dragon tiger mysterious altar. Zhao Gongming leads the heavenly lord who summons treasures, the heavenly lord who receives precious goods, the messenger who brings wealth, and the immortal official of profitable markets. Together, they are responsible for bringing good fortune, receiving blessings, and overseeing trade and business. From then on, Zhao Gongming completely broke away from the shadow of the plague god and completed his magnificent transformation into the god of wealth. Zhao Gongming is usually depicted with a black face and thick beard, wearing an iron crown, holding an iron whip, and riding a black tiger, looking powerful and majestic. What people pray to the god of wealth for is prosperous business, abundant money, and a wealthy life. In traditional Chinese commercial culture, the god of wealth is not only a symbol of wealth, but also a supervisor of business ethics. Merchants believe that only by doing business honestly and being generous in helping others can they truly receive the favor of the god of wealth. Every year on the 5th day of the first lunar month, known as the Day to Welcome the God of Wealth, shops and families across China hold grand welcoming ceremonies, set off firecrackers, prepare offerings, and pray for good fortune and prosperity in the new year. At present, the place in China where worship of Zhao Gongming is most active is the Zhao Gongming God of Wealth Temple in Zhouji County, Xi'an Shanxi Province. This temple is built around the legend of Zhao Gongming's hometown. Its architecture is grand, and every spring festival, it attracts large numbers of merchants and believers from all over China who come to pray for wealth and good luck. Since wealth satisfies people's material needs, the most important path for changing one's fate through knowledge and crossing social classes is education and the imperial examination. As we mentioned in a previous episode, in Chinese history, exams could change a person's destiny, from the ancient imperial examination to the Gaokao that still exists today. When knowledge can change fate, this brings us to the sixth deity we are going to introduce, Wenchang Dijun, the god who governs scholarly success, official rank, and fortune. The rise of Wenchang Dijun worship is inseparable from the establishment and perfection of the imperial examination system in ancient China. During the Sui and Tang dynasties, the imperial examination system broke the monopoly of aristocratic families over political power, allowing common people's children to enter official careers through studying and taking exams. This system greatly inspired enthusiasm for learning across society, but it also brought enormous psychological pressure to scholars. In the imperial examination, where thousands of people competed for only a narrow path forward, besides personal knowledge and effort, luck and divine protection became an important source of emotional support for scholars. The prototype of Wenchang Dijun was Zhang Yazi, the god of Zitong in the Sichuan region. Zhang Yazi was a local official during the Jin dynasty. After he died in battle, local people built a temple to worship him. By the Tang and Song dynasties, as the culture of the Shu region flourished, the god of Zitong gradually merged with the worship of the Wenchang star in heaven. Taoist scriptures record that Wenchang Dijun went through 73 transformations, repeatedly descending into the human world, accumulating virtue and doing good deeds, and eventually coming to govern literary fortune, scholarly achievement, official success, and worldly prosperity. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, Wenchang Dijun worship reached its peak. Almost every city had a Wenchang pavilion or Wenchang palace near its official school or academy. Before taking the provincial examination or metropolitan examination, scholars would always go to a temple of Wenchang Dijun to burn incense and pray, asking the deity to grant them wisdom and bless them with success in the exams. What people prayed to Wenchang Dijun for was progress in study, success in examinations, and a smooth official career. This belief not only reflected ancient scholars' desire for official achievement, but also showed Chinese society's deep respect for knowledge and education. Wenchang Dijun was also connected with the spread of morality books, such as the hidden virtue text of Wenchang Dijun, which taught people to do good deeds quietly, accumulate virtue, and become divine through goodness, combining the pursuit of personal success with moral cultivation. Today, Wenchang Dijun worship still remains very popular in Taiwan and among Chinese communities in Southeast Asia. Many students go to worship before important exams. In mainland China, the ancestral temple where Wenchang Dijun worship is most active is the Qikushan Grand Temple in Mianyang, Sichuan Province. This grand temple was first built in the Jin dynasty, with towering ancient cypress trees and simple old architecture. Every year during the Spring Festival and before the Gaokao, large numbers of students and parents come here,
bringing admission tickets and stationery, and sincerely pray to Wenchang Dijun for success in study. In Chinese history and civilization, no matter which dynasty we look at, farming was always inseparable from daily life. Farmers depended on the weather for survival, working with their faces toward the earth and their backs toward the sky. Everyone lived on the food produced through the hard work of farmers, and because of this, there came a very down-to-earth and approachable deity, the land god, also known as Fude Zhengshen, the god of fortune and virtue. The worship of the land god is rooted in China's thousands of years of agricultural civilization. This deity is also a frequent figure in Journey to the West, and if any of you have played the very popular game from some time ago, Black Myth, Wukong, then the place where incense is offered every time the game is saved is the temple of the land god. Ancient China was a typical agricultural society, and land was the foundation on which farmers depended for survival. As early as the pre-Qin period, China already had the tradition of worshipping the Shi, meaning the earth god. The Book of Rites records that the earth altar worshipped by the Son of Heaven was called the Great Shi, the one worshipped by feudal lords was called the State Shi, and the one worshipped by ordinary people was called the Village Shi. This worship of the land gradually evolved over history into the belief in the land god. In folk legends, the land god is usually portrayed as a kind, friendly old man with white hair, holding a walking stick or a gold ingot. His wife is the land goddess. The functions of the land god are very broad. He is not only the protector of agricultural production, blessing people with favorable weather and abundant harvests, but also the guardian deity of local communities, responsible for maintaining peace and safety in a particular area. In traditional Chinese villages, almost every village, every street or alley, and even the side of many bridges would have a small land god temple. The land god is like a village chief or neighborhood committee director sent by the heavenly court to the grassroots level. He knows every household in the local area and governs the fortune and misfortune of that place. What people pray to the land god for includes good harvests, peace at home, thriving livestock, and even small pieces of everyday luck, such as winning money at mahjong.
The worship of the land god reflects Chinese farmers' deep attachment to the land, as well as the warmth and mutual support found in the familiar community life of grassroots society. Every year, on the second day of the second lunar month, known as the land god's birthday, people hold a worship ceremony called making offerings. Merchants and farmers in particular prepare abundant offerings to worship the land god and thank him for his protection over the past year. Today, although China has become highly modernized, the worship of the land god is still preserved in many places. In Taiwan, the number of land god temples even exceeds the total number of temples dedicated to all other deities, and the incense worship is extremely strong. In mainland China, in villages and places such as Fujian and Guangdong, small and delicate land god temples can still be seen everywhere, bearing witness to the deep influence of China's agricultural culture. Corresponding to the land god who protects villages, ancient Chinese cities also had a deity who protected the city. That deity was the city god. The word city god literally refers to the city wall and the moat. In ancient times, city walls and moats were the core of a city's defense system, directly related to the safety of the lives and property of all the people in the city. Because of this, people naturally developed awe and worship toward the city wall and moat, and gradually gave them a human-like divine form as the city god. City god worship began to flourish during the Tang and Song dynasties. By the Ming and Qing dynasties, in order to strengthen urban management, Emperor Taizu of Ming, Zhu Yuanzhang, included city god worship in the official state ritual system. He required administrative institutions at different levels to build corresponding city god temples and gave the city god a clear administrative rank. In folk belief, the city god is not only the protector of the city, but also a judicial official who governs both the world of the living and the world of the dead. People believed that the city god was like a county magistrate or prefect in the human world. He was responsible for managing the ghosts within the city, examining the good and evil deeds of the dead, and continuing judicial trials in the underworld. Many historical figures known for integrity, justice, and honesty, such as Ji Xin of the Han Dynasty, Wen Tianxiang of the Song Dynasty, and Hai Ri of the Ming Dynasty, were worshipped by local people as city gods. This practice of turning historical figures into city gods reflects the strong desire of ordinary Chinese people for clean government, fairness, and justice. What people prayed to the city god for was peace and safety in the city, protection from fires and floods, and the chance to appeal to a deity when they suffered injustice,
hoping to receive a fair judgment. City god temples were usually among the liveliest places in a city. Inside the temples, there were often statues of the 10 kings of hell, using stories of karma and retribution to warn people to do good. Every year, when the city god went on procession, it was one of the grandest folk events in ancient cities. The procession was magnificent, with all kinds of performances, and the streets would be packed with people. Today, in many historic cities in China, grand city god temples are still preserved. Among them, the Shanghai City God Temple and the Xi'an City God Temple are the most famous examples. The Shanghai City God Temple is located in the busy Yu Garden commercial district. It is not only a religious site, but also an important carrier of Shanghai-style culture. The Xi'an City God Temple attracts countless tourists and believers with its beautiful ancient architecture and deep historical heritage. From the grand guardian deity of the city, we now return to the most private and warm space of the family, to meet a deity closely connected with Chinese daily life and New Year customs, the stove god, commonly known as the kitchen god. The origin of stove god worship is extremely ancient and can be traced back to the worship of the fire god in remote antiquity. Fire was the starting point of human civilization, and the stove was the place where a family cooked food and received warmth. Ancient people believed that every stove had a stove god. He not only managed the food and daily life of the family, but was also an inspector sent by heaven to every household. In folk legend, the kitchen god is an old man with a beard and a kind face, and his wife is known as the kitchen goddess. The most important duty of the kitchen god is to record the good and bad words and actions of family members throughout the year. Every year, on the 23rd or 24th day of the 12th lunar month, known as Little New Year, the kitchen god leaves the human world and returns to the heavenly court to report the situation of the family to the Jade Emperor. Based on the kitchen god's report, the Jade Emperor decides the fortune and misfortune of that family in the coming year. Therefore, before the kitchen god ascends to heaven, people hold a grand ceremony to send him off. In order to make him say good things in heaven and protect peace in the human world, people smear malt sugar or sweet food on the mouth of the kitchen god's portrait. The idea is either to stick his mouth shut or to make his mouth sweeter so that he will say more good things. This folk custom, full of everyday humor and charm, deeply reflects the friendly, even slightly bargaining-like relationship between Chinese people and their gods. What people pray to the stove god for is family harmony, enough food, and peace year after year. Stove god worship brings the lofty idea of heavenly moral inspection down into the everyday rules of behavior inside each family, quietly playing a role in moral education. In some rural areas, there is also a very lovely tradition. Whenever a family gets a new puppy, the owner will hold the puppy and bow in front of the stove, reporting it to the kitchen god. From then on, this puppy is a member of the family, and the family hopes the kitchen god will bless it with good health and make sure it never goes hungry again. Today, although it is difficult to find traditional stoves in modern city kitchens, the custom of worshipping the kitchen god is still well preserved in many rural areas. In some famous Taoist temples, such as Baiyun Temple in Beijing, grand kitchen god ceremonies are held every year during Little New Year. Believers invite home portraits of the kitchen god and pray for family happiness and good fortune in the new year. Finally, we are going to introduce a deity with a very strong personality in the Chinese mythological system, one who is deeply loved by young people and children. That deity is Naja. The evolution of Naja's image is an excellent example of the deep fusion of Buddhism and Taoism in Chinese culture, as well as the creative rewriting of folk literature. There is a very popular saying online today: the three biggest rebels of the heavenly court are Naja, Erlongshen, and Sun Wukong. Among this trio, Naja is the youngest, but his combat power is the highest. Erlongshen rebelled only to split open a mountain and rescue his mother. Sun Wukong fought only because he could not get the official position he wanted in the heavenly court. But Naja is different. In order to resist the unfairness of fate and the closed-mindedness of feudal ideas, this child can become so ruthless that he is even willing to kill himself. Naja originally came from Buddhist mythology. He was the son of Vaisravana, the heavenly king of the north, and was a yaksha deity who held a pagoda and subdued demons. As Buddhism spread in China, Naja's story gradually became localized. By the Ming Dynasty, with the appearance of the two great novels, Journey to the West and The Investiture of the Gods, Naja's image was completely reshaped into a brave, fearless young war god filled with a rebellious spirit. In The Investiture of the Gods, Naja is the third son of Li Jing, the military commander of Chentang Pass. When he was born, he appeared as a ball of flesh. After it was cut open, a child jumped out, wearing a golden bracelet on his wrist,
and a red silk sash around his belly. He was basically a divine child born with top-level equipment. Nuja was born with supernatural strength. When he bathed in the East Sea, he caused the Dragon Palace to shake. After that, he killed a Yaksha and the third prince of the Dragon King, and even pulled out the dragon tendon. Facing the Dragon King's demand for punishment, Nuja, in order not to let his parents be implicated, resolutely cut open his own belly, removed his intestines, scraped off his flesh and bones, and returned them to his parents. This showed an extremely tragic spirit of resistance. Later, his master Taiyi Genren used lotus flowers and lotus leaves to rebuild his body and bring him back to life. After his resurrection, Nuja Bangzhu Zhou overthrew Shang and achieved great military success. Nuja's story deeply touches on the conflict in traditional Chinese culture between paternal authority, filial piety, and personal independence. His determination to return his flesh to his mother and his bones to his father, along with his rebirth through a lotus body, symbolizes breaking free from traditional restraints and the awakening of self-awareness. What people mainly pray to Nuja for is the safety and health of children, protection from evil and disaster, and the courage and strength young people need when facing difficulties. Nuja worship is very active among the people, especially in southern China and Taiwan, where there are many prince temples dedicated specifically to Nuja. In mainland China, Kuiping Mountain in Yibin, Sichuan Province, is believed to be the location of Nuja's ancestral temple. The Nuja Palace there is built against the mountain, with strong incense worship. Every year, large numbers of believers and tourists come to worship and to feel the courage and vitality carried by this young deity. These 10 deities include men and women, Buddhist figures and Taoist figures, historical people and fictional gods. They come from different eras and different religious traditions, yet they have peacefully shared the same Chinese altar for hundreds, even thousands of years. From the cosmic order of the Jade Emperor to Mazu's protection of maritime exploration, from Guangong's loyalty and righteousness to Guanyin's compassion and salvation, from the god of wealth and people's worldly desires to Wenchang Dijun and the hope for education, from the land god and people's attachment to farming to the city god and urban justice, from the kitchen god and family ethics to Neja and youthful rebellion, these 10 great deities together form a complete three-dimensional spiritual world full of human warmth. When Chinese people created and worshipped these deities, they showed a very clear sense of practicality and deep human concern. Gods are not absolute authorities standing high above, distant and untouchable. They are more like extensions of human beings in the universe. They are the emotional comfort and moral support people found when facing the power of nature, social unrest, and the suffering of daily life. When people worship these deities, they are not only praying for protection from supernatural powers, they are also carrying out a kind of self-education, self-restraint, and community bonding. Every time incense is burned and people bow in worship, every temple fair and religious procession is a passing down of traditional culture and an awakening of national memory. In this polytheistic system, there is no exclusive religious conflict, only a shared longing for a better life. Each deity has their own duty, and together they form a subtle and harmonious contract with ordinary people in the human world. This cultural phenomenon, which perfectly blends the sacred and the secular, history and reality, morality and desire, is one of the important reasons why Chinese civilization has continued for thousands of years without dying out. I hope today's story has opened a new window for you to understand traditional Chinese culture, and I hope that in your future travels in China, when you once again stand before incense-filled temples and lifelike statues of gods, you will be able to read the deep historical meaning and warm everyday humanity behind them. All right, after talking about these 10 deities, I want to ask everyone a question. Who first recorded the stories of these gods? And how did their images change from ancient oral storytelling into the forms we see today? The answer is hidden in a book from 1700 years ago. This book is called In Search of the Supernatural. Its author was Gan Bao, a historian from the Eastern Jin dynasty, who was deeply fascinated by stories of ghosts and gods. Gan Bao spent most of his life collecting more than 400 stories about gods, ghosts, monsters, and immortals, and compiled them into this extraordinary book. It can be said that In Search of the Supernatural is the original database of Chinese myths and legends. Many of the deities we talked about today can be found in their earliest shadows inside this book.
In the next episode, we will open this strange book from 1700 years ago and take a look at Chinese ghost stories that appeared 1,000 years before strange tales from a Chinese studio. If you are interested in China's world of gods and spirits, don't miss another peak work of Chinese mythology coming in September, In Search of the Supernatural. All right, that is all for today's episode. I'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to give the show a like, subscribe, and share it with someone you think would enjoy it too. Thank you for spending this time with me. I will see you in the next episode.